Impaction, or otherwise known as a blockage in the gastrointestinal tract, or in basic terms, impaction is the accumulation of debris in the gut or intestines. However, does loose substrate cause impaction in bear dragons and other fossorial reptiles? That's what I'll be talking about in this video. Now, it's quite simple when it comes to this topic in herpetological keeping, as it's either you're against loose substrate or you're for loose substrate. Or if you want to look at it in a scientific aspect, you either believe in and go by focal husbandry or believe in and go by scientific based husbandry. It's safe to say the use of loose substrate of reptiles is surrounded by focal husbandry and is a very controversial and confusing topic for new reptile keepers. Now with that said, let's look at how impaction in reptiles is caused. First up is dehydration. When a reptile is dehydrated, a urine plug will form, blocking the passage of feces and any ingested substrate. In bear dragons, when ureas are formed, they are transported to the distal column for storage. This is where the column absorbs excess water from waste. This is also where the urine suspension transitions to water. In healthy bear dragons, a semi-solid urine plug is discharged during defecation. In a dehydrated dragon, the colon is also dehydrated, causing its walls to contract around the urine fluid. This strips out more water than usual, causing solid mass to form and adhere to the colon mucosa. Less lubrication and a desiccated hard urine make passing difficult. The same applies to substrate ingestion. Captive reptiles are notoriously chronically dehydrated, particularly desert species like bear dragons and leprechauns. This is because people think that desert means a bone-dry environment with no water at all. If you are not hydrating a reptile properly, the consequence is fatal. That would be extremely dry enclosures and dangerously dehydrated reptiles. I believe this is one of the most common problems and primary husbandry issues in the captive care of bear dragons and leprechauns, regardless of impaction. Well-meaning reptile keepers are dehydrating their animal and even refusing to provide a water bowl, because they are under the false impression that desert species don't need water, and yet they insist on regularly bathing their dragons or leprechauns in the effort to keep it hydrated, despite the fact that bear dragons or leprechauns are not semi-aquatic, nor do they regularly spend time near bodies of water. UVB and vitamin D3. Reptiles need UVB and calcium to survive. Without the proper provision of calcium and UVB exposure, reptiles can be deficient in vitamin D3 and therefore deficient in calcium. Calcium is vital for bone growth and maintenance, muscle function and metabolism. In a study conducted in 2019 on humans, lower levels of 25-hydroxy vitamin D were linked to reduced colonic transit times and a chronic functional constipation. A multivariate analysis, vitamin D low levels remains a significant independent risk factor for the occurrence of intestinal motility disorder. If UVB provision or vitamin D3 supplementation is insufficient to the point that the animal becomes 25-hydroxy D deficient, then intestinal mobility becomes reduced and the likelihood of impaction rises. Low basking temperatures. When reptiles don't have access to temperatures high enough to allow them to achieve their preferred body temperature, then their bodies don't have enough energy to work properly. When that happens, one of the results is that digestion slows down and becomes less effective. This is one of the reasons why remaining a reptile with a full stomach is so dangerous. Without heat, the power of the digestive tract, if it gets stuck and starts to rot inside the reptile's body, poisoning them. When there's enough heat energy for the reptile to eat and move, but not enough for it to digest, the risk of impaction is increased. Poor diet. A few examples of poor diet can lead to impaction are not enough roughage for healthy defecation, the overfeeding of insects with too much chitin, feeding insects with too much fat content, dehydrated food such as dried insects and pellets, or not enough exercise leading to obesity. Sufficient quantities of roughage are required to promote healthy defecation. Overfeeding combined with the feeding of insects with high fat content with a lack of exercise leads to obesity, which in turn reduces organ movement. Overfeeding of insects specifically will result in an overabundance of chitin in the diet. Combine that with poor hydration of feeder insects themselves, that can too contribute. That is why it is vital we highlight the importance of proper feeder insect nutrition and gut loading. Symptoms of impaction in reptiles. The symptoms of impaction in reptiles are a lack of appetite, lethargy, struggling to defecate, or not defecating at all, partial paralysis of the back legs, and possibly regurgitation. If you feel your dragon or reptile is impacted, then contact an exotic vet and get advice on what to do, and schedule a checkup with your exotic vet to see your reptile. So with the causes of impaction gone through, now still the big question still left to answer. Does loose substrate cause impaction in bearded dragons and other fossorial reptiles? In a healthy and nourished reptile?
Oh God, please no! No!
A healthy reptile with the correct husbandry and welfare will not get impacted if, as said, if every parameter of husbandry and welfare is on point. On point parameters of husbandry and welfare, meaning correct temperatures, the correct amount of vitamin D, and adequate hydration are all needed for a healthy reptile. It is only when one or multiple parameters of husbandry and welfare are off that the reptile becomes compromised and impaction becomes a possibility. A compromised animal can become too impacted from paper towel, too much insect chewing, too much insect fat content, rocks, and many other materials just as well can make a reptile become impacted along with loose substrate. It's clear impaction is a symptom of an underlying issue rather than the root cause. Removing loose substrate therefore only masks the real problem. Also, if you think about bearded dragons for example, and where they come from Central Australia, where no other than loose substrate is found. That's a big surprise, isn't it? What consists of the substrate central bearded dragons have? Dr. Don Howard once posted a video of the wild habitat of the central bearded dragon. In this video, he quite clearly shows viewers a very loosely sandy clay substrate. After sending samples of the substrate to Southern Cross University for laboratory analysis, its composition was confirmed as the following: 0.3% gravel, 95.9% fine sand quartz coloured by iron oxide, 1.5% silt, and 2.3% clay. If bearded dragons and other fossil reptiles evolved to live on such a substrate, then they must have evolved the necessary adaptations for interacting with said substrate, whether it be digging or indigestion. After all, if bearded dragons or other fossil reptiles have evolved to spend most, if not all of its time on such loose substrate, what are the consequences of long-term damage if we continue to keep our bearded dragons on tile or any hard surface for that matter? What about the damage to the joints of possible overweight reptiles, which are already under the necessary and unusual stress due to having to carry on the extra unnecessary weight? How are bearded dragons in captivity supposed to practice the natural ability to dig and burrow they evolved to do so over many years? These are the questions that reptile owners who keep their reptiles on a hard surface should consider. That I wouldn't even call a hard surface a substrate. Substrate is known as a material that soaks up everything when an animal defecates, as well as any spilled food and water. Can feces, water, or food be soaked up by tile or hard surface? Yet another important question for reptile owners who keep their reptiles on tile or hard surface to consider and answer. Now that we know loose substrate doesn't cause impaction in reptiles, so is there an actual reason or excuse why we so-called reptile owners don't provide a loose substrate for reptiles we keep in captivity to allow them to express natural behaviour patterns and dig enrichment? Absolutely not. There is absolutely no reason or excuse we should not give a healthy reptile a loose substrate, as that would be just being lazy and not providing the best and the highest husbandry standards and welfare standards for our reptiles we keep in captivity. If we look at the Animal Welfare Act 2006, we will find the 5 animal welfare needs stated, 2 of which being the need to be able to exhibit normal behaviour patterns, like I mentioned previously, and the need for a suitable environment. By not providing your reptiles with a loose substrate, we are failing to meet basic minimum welfare standards of an animal by not meeting 2 of the animal welfare needs. I also think most reptile owners who keep the reptiles in captivity don't provide a loose substrate for the reptile is really disappointing, and that's most of the world failing to comply and meet basic minimum welfare standards. So, as stated a few times in this video, every healthy and nourished reptile should be provided and have access to a loose substrate. Now, the only situation or time a natural loose substrate should be completely avoided is when a reptile is undergoing quarantine and needs continuous care and cleaning / disinfecting of its vivarium and enclosure, or else if the reptile's health is disordered. If you ever come across or happen to be in a situation where the topic of loose substrate and impaction comes up, or is frowned upon, don't hesitate to use this video as a reference. If you, like me, are always striving to give your reptiles the highest welfare standards and husbandry standards, by all means share this video, as that's exactly what this channel and video is all about. And if this video was shared or sent to you, I'm glad you decided to click and watch the video. Like, try to think why this video was sent to you. That's it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I was making it. I also really do hope you now know after watching this video how impaction is caused and why loose substrate is not the problem. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and thank you for watching the video. See you guys next video. Bye guys.